Peru is a land of contrasts. A beautiful coastline stretches from Ecuador to Bolivia along almost 1,500 miles. You can find there almost tropical beaches and the outskirts of the Amazon jungle in the north and more rugged terrain in the south. For centuries, the indigenous Quechua people lived here. They spoke their own language, which predated the Inca civilization. When the Spaniards invaded this land, the Quechua was not eradicated. It survived, and it's in use today in Peru, Bolivia, and some other countries in this part of the world. It's a minority language, but it's alive, and there are Quechua radio broadcasts for farmers. The center of the Inca civilization was here in Cusco. I'll try to show you how old traditions and the Quechua language are still alive.
This is the Plaza Mayor in Cusco, previously called Plaza de Armas. This is where many religious and state institutions are gathered. It's also the place where parades are held. We'll see one of them in a moment. The Plaza Mayor is a reference point for visitors because it can be seen from just about every elevation above the city. The rainbow flags you see here are the colors of the city, and they do not refer to the gay community. This flag often has an Inca face symbol in the middle, although it was not visible here. I visited Cusco in November 2019. There was a parade in the square, which looked quite grand, although the participants looked like female high school students. Take a look. The spectators kept up with the pace, and even the man with a broom joined the group. The next day, a sunrise over the city made a big impression on me. Cusco is a city that lives mainly from tourism. The inhabitants are very nice and show a lot of heart to visitors. Here at the market, I ordered a fruit drink And even though I don't speak Spanish and the lady behind the counter didn't know English, we managed to get along thanks to polite gestures and smiles. I didn't see any beggars here, quite the opposite. Many people find work and sometimes earn their own living playing in music bands, running small shops or souvenir stands. This lady sold apple juice, and here the mother took her children with her and set off into the city with a cart full of ice cream. A popular attraction is a llama dressed in colorful decorations. Tourists can take nice pictures with it for a small fee.
This is Pisac, a small town just a stone throw away from Cusco. It's named after a brushland tinamu bird pronounced pisacua in the Quechua language. The ride to the top of the mountain is a long, squiggly road. A view from the top reveals a gorgeous vista of a town below and a farmland built centuries ago by the Incas. And of course, there's a temple of the sun here called Intihuatana, yet another Quechua phrase still in use today.
A large plaza of the Sacsayhuaman fort, capable of holding thousands of people, was designed and built by the Incas in the 15th century, shortly before the Spanish invaded the country. Many of the structures on the site were used in Inca rituals. The longest of the three walls is about 400 meters long. They are about 6 meters high, and the estimated volume of the stone is over 6,000 cubic meters. The largest blocks weigh almost 200 tons. The stones are so tightly packed that a single piece of paper wouldn't fit between many of the stones. The most famous area of the Sacsayhuaman is its Great Plaza and its three massive walls. The stones used to build these terraces are among the largest used in any buildings in pre-Hispanic era. The stones were brought here from the Rumicolca quarry, about 35 kilometers away from Cusco. Right next to the fort, I found a statue of Jesus the Redeemer, similar to the one in Rio de Janeiro. It is much smaller than the one in Brazil, but it's well lit, and at night it's visible from almost every place in Cusco. Kenko is an odd-looking structure not far from Sacsayhuaman. The word Kenko means zigzag or labyrinth in the Quechua language. The structure of this temple has twisted corridors leading to the central underground altar. No one knows exactly what kind of ceremonies took place here. However, knowing the Incas, you can guess that at best it was an altar on which animal sacrifices were made. I will leave it to your imagination what they did here in the worst case. Many places in Cusco have names derived from the Quechua language. This language is alive and it permeates the everyday life of the inhabitants, like here. The kindergarten and playground are called Puklay Cancha, which means just that, a playing field or a playground. This hotel is called Rumiwasi. It means house of stone in Quechua. And this is a Spanish street name, but pay attention to this Inca symbol. This is what is sometimes placed on the colorful flag of Cusco. This is a bird's eye view of the city center in Cusco. You can see the Plaza Mayor in the middle, but I want to show you two interesting places nearby. Two Christian churches set on top of the houses built here centuries earlier by the Incas. One of them is the Basilica of Mercy, built in 1535. It was damaged many times due to earthquakes in Cusco. The last serious one took place in the 1960s. In front of the basilica stands a monument dedicated to a controversial figure from the Peru-Bolivia War in 1828. And here is the second church, surrounded by a street with a cobblestone surface. The Christian temple on the top was built unceremoniously on an Inca foundation. One of these stones is a tourist magnet because it has 12 corners. Take a look. Just like in Sacsayhuaman, the stones of this wall are perfectly matched, so there are no gaps between them. This foundation stretches the entire length of the city block. It's an incredible sight. A small part of the Inca wall was damaged and the Spaniards tried to repair it. They were incapable of even remotely matching the craftsmanship of the original builders. I have seen similar stone structures in the Easter Island. Oh no, I shouldn't have mentioned that.
Mr. Bombastic.
I took a trip south to the town of Puno on the shores of Lake Titicaca. The 7-hour bus ride was pleasant. We stopped in the town of Pucara along the way. Cusco is high up in the mountains. Pucara, Puno, and Lake Titicaca are even higher, and at times I was gasping for air. The oxygen levels at these altitudes are hard on the city dwellers like me. However, I was rewarded with the proverbial $1,000,000 view when we stopped for a quick rest. The Temple of the Sun in Pucara is the ruin of a large Inca settlement. Like many such sites in Peru, few of the original structures have survived in good condition. The Spanish invaders of the 16th century did not tolerate old beliefs. After a quick meal at the restaurant, we continued on to Puno. The sky over Lake Titicaca was clear. The Uros Islands are a unique settlement on Lake Titicaca. The floating islands are made of tataro reeds joined together into one piece. Each island is a home for a family, often several generations. The inhabitants of the Uros Islands have lived here for centuries. They escaped the taxes imposed on them by the Inca Empire. Today, many families support themselves by producing souvenirs for tourists. The owner of the island I visited tried to teach us how to greet him. Do you know what language he spoke? Yes, Quechua. And this is what it sounded like.
Kamisaraki. Waliki.
Waliki.
Kamisaraki.
Waliki.
Okay, bravo.
El dijo.
The inhabitants of the islands travel in boats made of the same tataro reeds. Some of them are the wonders of reed construction, equipped with a roof and a second floor for the passengers. The owners of the boat I was on gave the visitors a chance to try the oars. As I mentioned earlier, the Uros Islands are made of tataro reeds. The upper part is dry, although soft, and the lower part has roots and some earth cut from the shallows. The structure has a lifespan of about 60 years. The young tataro shoots are edible, the white part. I tried it. It was slightly sweet and even pleasant to the taste, something like a radish. The owner of the island showed us the fish that can be caught in the lake and other delicacies. The housing on the island is simple. The light bulbs that you can see here are the only modern invention of our era that I noticed. Electricity is produced by the solar panels. The last stop on Lake Titicaca was the Taquilla Island. It's a strange place where there is not a single car in sight. All products brought to the island are carried home on people's backs. It reminds me a bit of the Amish culture in the United States. We were treated to a delicious fish dinner. I was so terribly sunburned I could barely see the beauty of this place. Those mountains in the background are Bolivia. After returning to Cusco, I boarded a train and headed to the last stage of this expedition to the town of Aguas Calientes. It was much easier to breathe. Even though the train was going uphill, this town is located much lower than Cusco, and the train ride is an adventure in itself. And finally, we're there. Aguas Calientes is the entry gate for visitors from all over the world. The souvenir industry is in full swing. Before going to the top, I visited a kind of market in the town where you can eat something and take a few pictures. These little buses leave every few minutes. The line moves quickly, and it's a good idea to buy a plastic poncho because it can be wet at the top. The title of this film is Old Man's Mountain. It's Machu Picchu in Quechua. The buses taking tourists to the top take a winding road with incredibly difficult turns. This is what the map of this route looks like. And this is a bird's eye view. The Machu Picchu temple is located on the edge of this mountain ridge. The tickets are not very expensive, but you can't just go there and buy a ticket at the gate. You have to show your reservation and a passport at the entrance. You also get a tour guide. It was raining a little that day. The poncho turned out to be very useful. Visiting Machu Picchu is a one-way route. You can spend a lot of time here and no one rushes the visitors, but there is no way to return to a previously seen place or enter the park again. These terraces were used to produce food, grain and vegetables. The soil was scattered on top. Under the surface, there are layers of gravel that lets excess water through and prevents the landslides. But where is this Old Man Mountain? I could not understand where this name came from. In the main square, which reminded me of Sacsayhuaman and Cusco, llamas and alpacas were grazing peacefully. This elevation in the background, known as Machu Picchu, hides another secret, a temple of the moon. I thought I wouldn't understand the linguistic riddle about the old man when I remembered the picture I bought in Cusco. These are old Inca warriors in full regalia, and all I had to do was to look at it just as centuries ago someone looked at this great mountain and said, Machu Picchu. Here I almost got run over by a three-wheeled taxi in Pisac. And that was an attack from both sides, a bus behind me and someone walked into my camera. Yes, that's my camera. Make sure you look at it. You'll be on YouTube later. And here you have some tongue slips.
And on the outskirts of the Amazon jungle, you can find here more.
Here the GoPro camera didn't reverse the orientation. The sun was shining straight into the window and it created a lot of reflections. A lot of reflections.